Because usually we have sort of this golden period in between where the last season has come out and before we have the scripts for the new season, where you can't spoil it. You know, you can look at all these things and theorise with people and talk about what you think might happen, but we can't do that now because we know what happens.
It's tricky. Would you say you're a fan, Isaac? I mean, do you watch every episode?
Definitely. I don't think there's really anyone on Game of Thrones who isn't also a fan of the show. The thing is, we're not part of something where it's like, oh, this is just another job or something like that. It is really a very unique, extraordinary television program, and everyone who's involved in the show, you know, loves it, loves talking about it, and theorising.
You were so young when it started, and it's such a complicated, sprawling, and grown-up thing. I'm wondering if your relationship with the show changed much as you grew older.
Well, I mean,
as a fan,
as a fan, to begin with, I wasn't actually able to watch all of it. I got a sort of filtered version, but it was kind of a baptism of fire. My very first, episode, witnessing incest and attempted murder. And full murder with the beheading.
Did you know what you were witnessing at the time?
No, you do. I mean, the violence actually really wasn't a problem, because when you're on set, you see that it's all made up. You see the decapitated heads, you're like, oh, that's cool. I remember the sex. I didn't obviously see the sex scene. I was like in shock in such a way that I wasn't seeing what was going on. But that just ended, and when that actually came out on screen, it just meant that my mum was giving me really long, embarrassing lectures about how this is not normal sex, darling.
That's hilarious. I want to take this opportunity, since we have a Night King here, they're so mysterious, and I wonder, playing the Night King, did you need to understand his internal life?
I had to make one up, yeah, that made sense to me, some logical sense. I mean, it was given such little information when I started that, I don't even think I didn't have a name even when I started. It was just, I don't even know what they called me. The actual name, the Night King, didn't even come out until season 5. I think I was in season 4, and there was they accidentally put Night King on something that came out, and then they erased it very quickly. So they hadn't even given me my name officially. So I had to create the whole history and then kind of tweak it as I went along, as I learned more and more.
Yeah, so what kinds of things were you creating for yourself? Can't say. It's okay.
There's all kinds of things. Some of which, I think were corrected. Some I was like, oh, I'll tweak that, but yeah. Otherwise it'll go, suddenly it'll be on the internet, oh, this is one thing. That's very correct.
If I remember right, the first scene with the Night King was when he had the Craster baby, is that right?
Right.
Yeah, and that was you, right?
It was.
So how was that to film? How many takes?
It was a lot, and the baby was tricky. As we'd say, it was a little boy, a big little boy, but not a happy little boy, crying a lot. And the problem is, I had fingernails that were, as you know, like about out to here, and I had to somehow touch very gently right next to the baby's eye. And the baby's like this. So I'm literally shitting myself, thinking I'm going to blind a baby on my first day on Game of Thrones, like that. But luckily it worked.
And what did you think when you shoot a scene like that has some CGI and you get to watch it? How does it feel to see it?
Yeah, it's amazing how little CGI there was. There was, we had some ice things, a few things, but when I look back at it, and I look at it, there was, surprisingly less CGI than I thought there was going to be. I mean, there was some fake snow, the fake things here and there, but surprisingly, a lot of it was, they used kind of fake ice sculptures we had around. A lot of it was actual practical things. But then to always look back, and of course there's a lot more things added onto it. It's amazing. And Hard Home, there was a lot of CGI with a number of people involved. So that we had 500 extras, but on top of that, thousands more. So that was incredible. Yeah. All the numbers.
Who likes Hard Home? Anybody? No? Hard Home with all the zombies, the whites. That is one of my favorite episodes. Yes. So that's what I was going to ask you. You know, that's a meme with you with your arms outstretched, and it says, "Come at me, bro." Have you seen that? When you were doing that, you were raising the dead, but did you think of it kind of like that, kind of a gesture too?
Yeah, towards Jon Snow. Yeah, definitely. It was like, just look at this, I better not swear. Because, basically, yeah, it was. And I'm glad it came across like that.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, let's move on to Kristian. So, Kristian, I'm sure you've been asked this many times, but
Probably.
Yeah, so many things. This is probably the one that you get asked all the time, so I'm sorry, but I want to know, what was it like for you when you first found out Hodor's origin story, and had you thought it would be anything like that?
I mean, I had no idea Hodor's fate, or why he said the word Hodor right up until the end, really. I found out at the same time as all you guys when we got the script, but it just completely blew my mind. I was pleased. I loved the character Hodor. I sort of fell in love with him after a few years, and I was just pleased that he got such a satisfying ending, and he got to play such an important part in the storyline. So I was very pleased, and also sad, obviously, to be leaving my friends, and but I was very happy with how they did it.
It's so elegant. I mean, they must have had it in mind the whole time, right? Do you know if they had that origin for him?
They did,
Yeah. I'm not 100% sure, but I believe it is. Is that came from George, do you think? Yeah. That's great. I mean, that's foreshadowing to the max.
Years.
Yeah.
And no one would have ever figured that out. So, I mean, what did you think was going on with him? Why was he saying Hodor all the time?
Well, I had a couple of theories, but most of which I stole from the internet from you guys. That he was one of the lost Clegane brothers. And you've got like Sandor, Hodor, Gregor, and the mountains, like he's a bit of a shit, and he was cruel to the other guy, and he could have bashed his head in. Who knows? That was a theory. Anyway, but yeah, that was the one I sort of subscribed to most, but I was completely wrong, clearly.
I like that. So, between the two of you, how would you describe what happened there?
I've got a great way of describing it. Should I hold that?
Is that it? Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Isaac. I hate you.
Do you ever just scream out, hold the door for fun these days?
Not unless there's money involved. Seriously, guys.
Hear that, everyone?
People do it to me, so it's okay. I can cope.
It's been a little while since I saw it, but it seemed like Bran had projected himself into the past, and he warped into...
I mean, I'm to this day not entirely sure of the exact physics of it, I suppose.
Yeah, people often ask me for like a real physical and metaphysical description of what happened, and I have to say it didn't actually really happen. I don't really know what happened. I think it was like a sort of time loop.
Yeah, as I understand it,
A feedback thing,
I
almost.
guess Bran was somehow walking into modern day Hodor through Hodor in the past, but the thing is, it's paradoxical. It doesn't make sense because it's a big time loop. The very nature of it means that it's impossible. So there's not really a definite answer as to how it works. It's kind of what we refer to in the film industry as fudged.
Now this is kind of a dark question, but do you feel like Bran should take some responsibility for what happened to Willis, young Willis?
Well, at the end of the day, it was Bran's fault. It was a result of his hubris, thinking he could handle going into this vision alone. So in that sense, I suppose that is Bran's fault, but there was no malicious intention behind it. But then if you look at it from the perspective of the Three-Eyed Raven, it had to happen. It's part of destiny, it's part of you know, Hodor's timeline is part of Bran and the Three-Eyed Raven's timeline, and the way the Three-Eyed Raven would look at it, and does look at it, is it's, well, you know, that had to happen, that's how things go.
And also, if I had to blame one person in the scene, it would probably be Mira. Because she's the one who says, hold the door, and then leaves me there.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, I'm in a vision.
yeah,
Well,
actually,
actually, doing that.
I know, but yeah, I think it was her fault, really.
So, do you think Hodor had some kind of an idea of where things were heading? Did he have an inkling? Did he know completely?
Not really. No, I don't think he was too aware of much, really, that was happening around him. I think he just had his little happy little, sort of My Little Pony world.
He felt a loyalty to Bran, though, right? He felt a loyalty to Bran.
Yeah, very much so. And I think even when he comes around and he's sort of not being controlled at the end, and he sort of realizes he just has to do this, I think that's the only time he feels like things are right. He just has to hold that door, and there's nothing he can do to escape it.
So let's say Hodor is up in heaven looking down, and he's
Who
got
says Hodor goes to heaven?
Yeah.
okay, or hell, whichever. I think Hodor
I think he
goes
deserves to have it. Thank you very much.
And he's got his complete mental faculties. Do you think that he would have any regrets, or would he choose to have it all play out that way?
Well, I'm sure he would rather not lose his faculties for most of his life, but as a sense of loyalty towards Bran, etc., I think he would fulfill his destiny.
That's nice. Are we having any questions over here? Yeah? What's your name?
Hi, I'm Simone, I'm from Holland. If you would play any kind of character, who would you play and why, if you could choose?
Is that
Game of Thrones?
any other character? If we could play any other character on Game of Thrones?
Yeah.
I think I would controversially be Jaime Lannister. I think he's another character who has a very, very interesting story arc. In many ways, kind of similar to Bran. What with him losing his hand, you know, something that's really important to him. But what's cool about, or interesting about Jaime Lannister is that immediately he's set up as definitely a bad guy. We think he's just tried to murder a 10-year-old. This guy's not a good person. And as the series goes on, he's morally ambiguous, and especially with him losing his hand, it's quite an interesting parallel to Bran's story of losing his legs, something that was very important to both of them. And I also wish I could have just got to have a sword, so Jaime Lannister would have fulfilled that.
For me, because Hodor was such a physical, non-verbal character, I would like to play someone whose words were very important to his character, and someone like Varys. I think Varys his spoken part was incredible, and his lines were incredible. So I'd like to try something completely different, really.
I play Bran because that's who everybody thinks I am anyway.
Right, thank you.
Thank you. Kristian, how was that challenge of playing a character and only being able to say one word?
I mean, really, it varied from scene to scene. I'm not going to pretend it was like Shakespearean challenge in every single scene. Some of it was very easy, and some of it was quite complicated, really. And I remember we had that season break where we were off. I think it was season 5. Yeah, we weren't. I just assumed it would be so easy to snap back into character after being away for a year. I found it really hard. It was really hard to get back into character, and had to really sort of revisit the place I went to in my head for Hodor. So there definitely was a process to it. But as I say, not every scene was difficult, but it was unique. Definitely a unique challenge.
I'm thinking of Groot. That's the only other.
Yeah, nothing to Hodor.
Another question over here.
Hello, I'm Kerry. I just wanted to ask if you could bring back one character resurrected from the dead, who would it be to be in the season finale and why?
I think I've got to answer you since you sit next.
No, be honest.
In terms of a character who I just think would be, I'd love to see more of, would probably be Robb Stark. Or at least, you know, one of us, or even Ned Stark. I'd be really interested to see how Ned Stark would survive now, or how he would fit into the world that seems to have gone so very wrong over the past 7 seasons. But definitely a start.
I mean, if we brought back Ned Stark, he was like a caveat for so much of the stuff that happened. It might be quite boring. It might be quite a boring show if he hadn't been killed. But I was a huge fan of Michelle's depiction of Catelyn Stark, and I would love to have brought Catelyn back. I loved everything she did. So,
Richard?
I was going to say Ned Stark, but I love Joffrey. I thought he was fantastic.
I did too.
Mostly because I hated him so much, but he was a great performer.
It's fun to watch. Isaac, I'm not sure you can actually answer this, but we'll give it a shot. So Bran has changed. He seems very cold and detached now, and some people think that's because he's dead, gone, that he's been replaced with the Three-Eyed Raven. I feel like it's more because he's just been downloaded so much information about the universe that it's just changed his perspective on everything.
Yeah, well, I think there's a really good line in season 7 that kind of sums up what Bran, the Three-Eyed Raven, is now, and he says, I remember what it felt like to be Brandon Stark, but I remember so much else now. So it's kind of like before all of his brain was taken up with being Bran Stark, whereas now it's a very, very, very small part. So he is still Bran Stark, and rooted in him are things that make him Bran Stark. Especially, I think, when he's around in Winterfell and around his family, he does still have memories of these people. It's just that he has memories of every single other person in the universe as well. So it just makes him slightly, or very distant and a bit detached.
I also think maybe if you learned so much about the world that it might just blow your mind a little bit.
Well, yeah, definitely. I mean, Bran kind of is time. That is what the Three-Eyed Raven is. It's this kind of mythical beast that is sort of the keeper of the world's history. And so I don't think there's much room there to have someone with, being jolly or full of emotion or chatting. You kind of just are an entity.
I always thought Bran was interesting because he started off as this character who wanted to run and play and jump and explore and was curious, and then by the end of the series he's able to do that on a much more cosmic scale.
Well, I think the story arc of Bran is one of my favourite in the whole show, and that's not just because I play him. He's set up immediately in the first episode. We're made to think, well, this kid's got no chance. He's a little 10-year-old. He's disabled in one of the harshest worlds there are. His family have left him. His home gets burnt down. It's like, this kid is not going to survive. And against the odds, he makes it be on the north of the wall, in incredibly dangerous territory. And it now...
I think that will help in fairness.
But then he becomes a hugely pivotal and important character. I just think it's a really amazing message of having a character who is not, he's not a classically glamorous character who runs around with a sword and saves the day, or is, whatever. His weapon and his skill is in his mind, and I think it's nice to have characters like that in a very brutal world like Game of Thrones, to have these kind of people who are calm and still and thoughtful and incredibly powerful.
Absolutely, yeah. So Kristian, you mentioned Hodor helped. Early on, you were carrying Isaac around on your back. At some point, that just became not feasible. Do you remember where that was?
Well, it was more to do with your growth. At one stage, your legs were getting pretty long.
It was all dangling along.
Yeah, trailing along the ground. We came up with a few different solutions. First of all was the backpack with had your legs sort of strapped up. Remember that sort of strapped your legs up? Then we have the wheelbarrow.
Yeah, the wheelbarrow was fun. I mean, I've been in so many modes of transport on Game of Thrones.
Yeah, and none were any easier to pull.
You missed out on the wheelchair, but that's an absolute nightmare to
really?
around. Yeah.
Okay. And then there was the sledge. But yeah, it was just to do with his growth, really. He grew pretty fast. A lot faster than I think anyone imagined.
Was it in between those two, like in the season that you guys weren't on, did you come back or had you seen each other in between?
Yeah, we've seen each other. It wasn't too much of a shock for me, but yeah, it was very fast. Literally within a period of months.
I mean, you know how when you grow up, you kind of have family members come up to you and go, "Oh,
Yeah.
haven't you grown?" I had the entire cast and crew of Game of Thrones doing that for 3 years.
Did like Benioff and Weiss have a reaction?
They were very cool.
Yeah.
They weren't. At least I never heard that they were planning to recast me.
Yeah, and weirdly in a parallel universe, when you're not even with me, I keep getting asked about your size and weight and stuff. I feel like I have a child. You know, isn't he getting big? And I'm like, what? Yeah. Very strange scenario.
Do we have a question over here? Hi.
Hi, I'm Julia from Ireland, and I guess my question is for Isaac. Of all the family deaths that Bran had to experience, which do you think was the most devastating for him?
Of all the what, sorry?
Of all the deaths in his family.
It's a tricky one. I mean, I think Bran kind of has always had to, and all the Starks have had to come to deal with, bereavement from pretty early on. I think certainly one of the ones that seemed the most traumatic for Bran was sort of in person, where there was an actual real reaction that I could sort of think back to, was Roderick Cassel. I think just because of the circumstances in which that happened. Because with Ned, he'd already gone, and that was obviously devastating, but Bran wasn't, directly involved in it. And with the Red Wedding, Bran had kind of had a premonition and was already starting to move beyond, human. Well, not quite that point yet, but wasn't. That didn't necessarily turn him so much. But I definitely think Roderick Cassel's death, where Theon Greyjoy, who Bran kind of thought was a friend and somebody he could trust, is there brutally botching an execution in front of him. And as well as that one, I think maybe Maester Luwin, because those were the two people who stayed at Winterfell and kind of cared for Bran while everyone else was down in King's Landing. So I'd probably say those two. But now, Bran doesn't really care about any deaths, he just sort of gets on with it.
I love the scene with Bran and Littlefinger towards the end there, back at Winterfell, where he kind of casts a ladder and freaks him out. Was that fun to...
That was so much fun, because that's such an iconic line from the show as well. And there I was getting to say it again. But especially cool because there aren't many characters who can sort of one-up Littlefinger. Littlefinger's quite a difficult person to outmaneuver.
Bran's his worst nightmare.
Literally. I mean, he's literally the world's largest CCTV archive. So Littlefinger can't get away with his tricks.
And did you imagine Bran off-screen telling Sansa and Arya, I got a few things to tell you about Littlefinger?
Well, interestingly, we did shoot a little scene. It was quite off the cuff. I don't think it had been planned, but I thought they should put it in, where Sansa comes to Bran and sort of says, "I need your help," which didn't make it in. So yeah, I think there was definitely that coordination there.
I think, they probably didn't have it in because they wanted it to be a surprise what was happening too, right? Yeah. Okay, over here. Hello.
Hi there. I don't know if you'll be able to answer this, but there's lots of talk of a spin-off set 2,000 years in the past. Because of Bran's powers, do you think he would show up? And also, if for any of you, if there was one character from the book that isn't in the show that you could bring in, who would it be and why?
In terms of the spin-off, I absolutely actually don't know anything.
Me too. I'm completely in the dark.
I think they've planned a couple, and as far as I know, one is going into production, but I actually don't know when it's planned. It's like a totally different writing team to Game of Thrones, and it's kind of a different thing.
And I haven't read the books.
Neither do I.
So I don't know. I really don't know.
I guess it'd be fun to have Lady Stone on.
Oh yeah.
That would be quite cool.
Yeah, that was a cool
Oh, and
character.
someone was telling me the other day there's a third Targaryen
that was me.
sibling in the books. Was that you, Zane? That sounds quite cool. I would like to see that.
Thank you.
Hodor exclamation mark.
Sorry, what we all want to know is Rick Grimes in Westeros? No, sorry, I'll leave that.
I'll take the Rick Grimes. Who's Rick Grimes?
Gonna go slightly into spoiler territory here, but
He's been busy.
will we see a Hodor Walker?
Oh god. He's dead, that's all I can say. You never know what will happen in Westeros. It's only 2 weeks away.
You can wait.
You'll find out.
Yeah, it's 2 weeks away. How do you guys feel that this is about to wrap up and be over with?
I mean, it's been such a huge part of our lives for the last 8 years. Even I've been gone for 2 years now, but I still talk about it every day. I still do press stuff for HBO. In a way, after my death scene, it got even bigger for me. But it's going to be very strange that it's gone, and also nice in a way. You know, it's just a huge part of our life, which I could not be more grateful for, because my life is 100% better in every way. But it's also being that huge part of your life. You want to do some other things as well, and I'm looking forward to moving on with other things as well. But whilst being eternally grateful. So
Yeah, I mean, it's a funny one for me because Game of Thrones has basically been my life. It wasn't like I had much of a life. I was only 10 when I started it, so it wasn't like I was a jobbing actor in Game of Thrones with this job and I've just finished that job. Game of Thrones has been going on through pretty much every major life event I've ever had, apart from maybe being born. And so it's kind of a really strange moment because I've finished it now and I'm an adult, and it feels like I've just lived an entire life. In a way, and my life is now only just starting. So it's kind of quite thrilling to have this kind of introduction to the world.
What do you want to do now? Do you have some things going on already?
Well, after we finished last June-ish. And I've kind of just chilled out since then and enjoyed, because this has been the first time in 8-9 years where I've neither been at school nor working in Game of Thrones, so this is actually the first bit of time off, as it were, I've had in a while, so kind of just enjoyed doing nothing for a bit, but kind of looking for the next job now, really. I'm back off to university in September to go and study for a bit.
Do you want to do something completely different?
Definitely. It'd be nice to... I've been thinking more and more about what I watch all the time, and I tend to watch comedy, which I think would be a nice, refreshing break from swords and sex and dragons.
And I'm just very honored to have been a part of such an amazing show. I always think, it really dawned on me when I was working on it that the history of theater and acting, sort of my theory about it, is that the Greeks were forced to go and watch theater as part of their culture because it was a catharsis for them. It kept society together. And then sort of you look through the history of acting and theater, that's what's happened. And I think Game of Thrones has had that effect in a modern way. So now we can stream it around the world and watch it, but I've never seen anything that I've been involved with, or I can't even remember that I've not been involved with, that has had such an impact on people. And I think in a way that this show has been almost like a modern version of what a Greek drama was for people. It's like a catharsis, and it has all the things: sex, incest, death. I mean, everything that those had. So to be a part of that, for me as an actor, was an incredible gift.
And you did something great. You took the main enemy of the movie, and without him having the use of words, made him into this imposing, iconic figure. And
I was just thinking about no word. He had one word, I had no words.
Yeah. So, yeah, tell me about that. I mean, I love your Night King. It's the scariest, and I think you did an amazing job. And so, how did you project that?
Partly just because I've been doing this for like 30 years. I'm playing mostly people that are incredibly fucked up and have lived in a very, very dark place. And at some point, I remember it was maybe 10 years ago, or I can't remember what I was playing, but I was somebody who was not well mentally. And I just realized that to really, as an actor, to be able to do that, you have to be unafraid to go to a place. Again, it kind of goes back to the catharsis thing, but to take yourself to a place that's most people are scared to go to. Whether it's whatever, imagining yourself in a place that you do not want to go, very dark place. And I'm not afraid to do that. And with this character was because he is the ultimate, in a way, of evil, of darkness. Let's put it that way, darkness, really. Is to just be willing to go as there as you can, because you have no words to do it with either, so you just have to go there. And I guess it doesn't really frighten me that much. And then I get to go fuck around with my kids afterwards and be a normal person.
Be a fun dad. We'll talk a little bit about the stillness. That's important, right?
I mean, partly I have to sit in the chair for 6 hours putting the makeup on, so that taught me a lot about stillness. I mean, I meditate. I've always meditated a lot. I meditate like a couple times a day, and all of that really helped with this character. But when I got ready for it, I would literally take 6 hours, and I couldn't fall asleep or anything because I have to move around a bit. So it was really that would often help just get me very still. And then during the day, I was covered in makeup. I had fingernails out to here. I had a costume that cut into me, and I was bleeding down there. I had contact lenses in, like biggest you could put in a human eye, fake teeth, couldn't really eat, drink. If I went to the toilet, I'd literally sever my penis with my fingernails, so I didn't do that. So basically, I would just be silent still pretty much all the day and not chat to anybody. I think so. Kind of all helps.
It sounds like with all that going on, it might be a little easier actually to be in a little bit of a dark place.
Exactly, that kind of makes you in a dark place. Exactly. Dying to take a pee, but if I did, they'd have to shut the production down while I literally got unwrapped, and I'm too shy to like come out of a porta potty with 1,000 extras looking at me. So.
Right, team stepping up.
Exactly.
Funny. Okay. We have about 10 minutes over here. Hi.
Hi, I was going to ask, Richard, is it hard to go around in the Night King costume all the time?
Oh yes, incredibly uncomfortable, to say the least. The makeup's not that hard, but the hardest part is saying, you mean the whole thing is the contact lenses. They're literally agonizing. And they would take them out after 4 hours legally. And then when they tried to put them back in, they would have to hold my head because my body's trying to reject while they just put them back in. So that was the worst part.
Thanks. Isaac, for years there was this whole L plus R equals J theory, and Bran got to be the one to confirm it. So I was wondering, when you found that out, what was that like for you to get to do that?
It was cool. I mean, we've been waiting long enough for that to be actually revealed. But the thing is, especially with characters like Bran, who was always kind of on the periphery of the story, he was kind of doing his own thing. We had our own sort of little unit. He wasn't hugely involved in, I suppose, what you'd call the main storyline. It was really cool in season 7 to suddenly now be involved with other characters who never, or I hadn't seen for years, or had really hardly interacted with. And then to then be a part of actually a really key, crucial moment on the show. Because I think up until that point there hadn't really been a moment that Bran was part of something key since he got pushed out that window, really. That was, it was really fun, because that was a huge moment. And I think, again, another cool victory for the characters who use their minds, Sam Altali and Bran Stark, working together. A great little duo.
Yeah, did you guys kind of feel like for a few years there that you were on your own TV show?
Yeah, definitely. We were kind of doing our own thing. But it was nice. We had a really great little gang. Me, Ailey, who played Mira, Thomas played Jojen, Natalia, who played Osha, Art, who played Rickon. we had a really fun little gang.
Does the main director of each episode always direct you guys, or sometimes is it someone else?
Well, it's split up by each director will do sort of 2 episodes, so it just depends which episodes you're in.
Or whenever a director is doing that episode, he'll direct all the scenes?
Yeah, so they'll direct the whole episode.
Okay, that makes sense. Over here, hello.
Hey guys, I heard for the new season you have quite brutal night shoots, particularly for the Battle of Winterfell. What do you do to get yourselves through that, such an exhaustive, intensive night shoot? And what's going on outside of filming, everyone supporting each other to get you kind of through those difficult night shoots?
I'm not sure how much we can confirm or deny those reports. But
What
we
about the
have done night shoots before
In the past,
which
by the way,
are incredibly tricky things, especially if you're doing for a couple of nights in a row, because it just, the most depressing thing is you get in the car at, like on a Friday and it's you're coming in at about 4 or 5 p.m. just as everyone's coming home from work for the weekend, and there you are going to sit in the freezing cold. But night shoots are brutal. You're totally removed from the real world. Nobody's up. It's not like you can just text a mate or catch up or whatever. You are kind of isolated. But yeah, we didn't have too many.
Not too many, but we did have some terrible weather.
That's Belfast.
Yeah, Belfast isn't the Côte d'Azur. It's quite rough sometimes.
Are you cold in your outfit, Richard?
Sometimes. There were times when I was, and other times when I wasn't. But yeah, sometimes for once I remember freezing. Actually, with the little baby, the Castor's son, I was freezing that day. Absolutely freezing.
I think I speak for everyone in Game of Thrones when I say I don't think I've ever been a comfortable temperature.
Never.
I've either been freezing or boiling.
I've never been anything but boiling.
Yeah.
My outfit was horrendous.
Yeah,
It was awful.
Is that, in a way, does it make it more fulfilling, like you've been through something harsh?
No. Terrible. They kept adding layers to my costume.
And to be fair, we complain about it, but we're taken care of incredibly well.
Oh, yeah.
And it's not that much of a hardship at the end of the day.
It's not like a huge problem really, but it is uncomfortable. Yeah.
We have time for just a few more questions over here. Hi.
Hiya. Now that Game of Thrones is finished, are you actually looking forward to doing something completely different, or would you like to stay in a franchise of a series, or would you like to go into movies? That's for all.
Kind of, whatever. I think the thought of another 9-year epic saga scares me slightly. I'm not sure how readily I'll jump straight into that. But again, it all depends on the projects. Back when Game of Thrones was being cast, I think a lot of people probably read it and thought, oh, that's TV, that's probably not going to be very good. So you can't really pick based on the format or the medium. I mean, we've got an online supermarket making amazing television programs now. There's no telling where the next where the next great format is going to be. So, but I think I'm definitely excited to go around and try different things.
Yeah, completely different genre, although fantasy and sci-fi is my favourite genre, and I would like to continue to work in that, but I also work in the music side of things, so I'm going to be doing a lot of work there.
I'll do anything but wear prosthetics.
Thanks.
Thank you so much. Hi, just as fans of the TV show, who would you like or see to be on the Thrones?
I think I always say a similar answer for this because I just love the character, and I think Westeros deserves someone fair and nice for a change. I don't think it's ever happened before. I would like to see Bran of Tarth on the throne, because I think she's an incredible character and would be a wonderful queen.
I like Hodor on the throne. I think it'd be a very peaceful kingdom.
Let's resurrect me first.
Yeah, zombie Hodor on the throne.
Maybe.
Could happen.
was wondering, when you were that young, did you understand like the context of what you were actually filming? Because obviously Game of Thrones is a very mature show, for a 10-year-old at least.
Well, I did know what was going on. Because you can't really be in it and do anything convincing if you've actually got no idea what's going on. You have to a certain extent, be involved in it. I did pretty much know the context of it all. But I think because it was explained, it wasn't like I was watching it and just watching the show and had no involvement in it, because I think that probably would have been a bit disturbing if I were literally just watching it as a 10-year-old and saw all these disturbing things happening. But because I was a part of the process and I saw how it's made and I was there at the table reads when you see the intentions behind the words, it wasn't, I don't think it's fucking up.
And also, not to speak out of church about you, but you were always a very curious and inquisitive child, and always very intelligent, really intelligent, and like years above his age group. So I don't think it's the kind of child you could sort of bundle away and hide things from. You would have wanted to find out.
Yeah, exactly.
So you have to sort of know what was happening.
Do you feel like a father figure to him?
More of a big brother.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, more of a big brother, yeah.
Okay, one more question. Over here. Hi.
Hi, my name is Matt. This is my first convention.
Welcome.
I read that there's a 45-minute battle sequence in the last episode. What was it like to film some of the bigger battle sequences?
In the previous episode.
Can't really talk. In the previous episodes. Well, I haven't been involved in any of them, so you're asking the wrong person, I'm afraid.
In Hodor, that was, how long was that? That was probably...
I think it was like 20 minutes.
20 minutes, yeah. It was incredible. I think the rehearsal was a couple of weeks, just on that alone, and then they shot, for a TV show, it was an incredible amount of money spent, but also time to film it. And then of course we had hundreds and hundreds of extras, CGI. It's really extraordinary. You'll do a TV show and shoot it in, a week or 10 days typically, and it'll just be fast. But that was so much work, both behind the camera and in front of the camera, to create kind of an epic 20 minutes. It's really quite extraordinary. It's extraordinary. Everybody involved is incredibly hardworking and talented.
It's an amazing episode. Can't wait to see what you guys have in store for us in season 8. Everybody, let's give these guys a huge hand. Thank you so much for coming.